Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's Monday. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Obviously, we're into a new month now in August. So we're obviously going to take a look at Bitcoin, see how it's doing today, how it did over the weekend a little bit, Ethereum as well. But we'll also take a look at the miners, see how they did as far as their stock performance today. For the most part, it was a down day with a couple exceptions. We'll take a look at those. And then we'll also take a look at Bitfarms July production update. They're great at providing these updates, on time regularly, usually like the first ones in the month to do it. We also have IREN Energy providing a little bit news as far as hash rate increase with Bitmain, so that's good. And then Marathon has a story come out just now, a couple minutes ago, about BTC secured loans. So we'll get into that as always. We'll cover it all. So, but as always, not financial advice. You guys know the drill here. Invest in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. Let's get into Bitcoin and the miners, and then we'll get with the rest of it. So Bitcoin right now is at 23,046. We have been battling with our resistance here at 23,800. You can see here on the chart, the green line over here. Right now we basically bounced off of the 200 weekly moving average, which is the red line here. You can see it. So we bounced off of that a little bit. So that's kind of a good sign that we might be bouncing between these two and possibly going back over the resistance line of 23,800. If we look at the 1 hour chart on it, you can see, I should probably drag this thing out a little bit more. Let's see here, since we're getting out further out. So here's that line that we were bouncing on, right? We were bouncing above it, below it. We just couldn't figure out which way to go. We finally broke through it and continued going down. We did have, obviously, we came pretty close here to touching the 200 weekly moving average, but we did seem to bounce off of it, which is kind of good. You can kind of see it here, how it went up the candlesticks, which is pretty good. The RSI on the 1 hour chart is looking pretty low right now. So it looks like we may have some opportunity to go up here, at least in the next 12 to 24 hours or so. And then we'll see if we start, testing this resistance again at 23,800. So that's Bitcoin right now. So it was pretty much flat over the weekend. It did have a couple spikes here where it went up to almost 20. What was the high here? We went up to a high of 24,666 was the high that we reached on it. And that was on the 30th. So that was on Saturday. And then we had a weird candle here. You can see it as well. This was on yesterday where we had a huge spike down and a huge spike up all within an hour. So that's kind of weird. But other than that, we'll have to see how Bitcoin continues throughout this week. Ethereum is at 1,626 right now. It's pretty much following suit with Bitcoin. It's down a little bit as well. Trying to see if there's anything that we can see on it. Let's see, do we have the 200? 200 is down here, so we're still above the 200 weekly moving average, which is good. Other than that, it's basically following suit. We obviously fell, or we've been going up on the daily here. So our peak here was on the 28th, which we peaked at $1,792. And that was on, I believe that was Thursday. I think that was Thursday, the 28th. So we peaked there and we've been falling down here for the last 5 days. RSI has been coming down, which is getting a good sign on the daily. On the 1 hour chart, we are looking close to being oversold here. So we may be going back up a little bit. Looks like it has a little bit more strength to go back up for another little rally here. But we'll have to see how it goes. Next, the miners. ANY was down today 6.84% on the day to 62 cents right now. Let's take off the weekly moving averages here so we can see the chart a little bit better, how it performed the last couple hours. But let's go into the daily on these and we can kind of see that we are back to previous lows. I mean, not as low as we have been here, but we're getting to it again, pretty close here. On ANY, Argo was down 4% today to 45 cents. And this one's been bouncing kind of all over the place here in the last couple of weeks. We obviously seem to have maybe found a bottom here right around the 35 cent mark over here in the last couple of weeks. And it's been getting close to it a couple of times, but it's been bouncing off of it. So that's obviously kind of a good sign as well. Bit Digital was up actually today 4.32% to $1.45. And we've obviously had a huge run up here last couple of weeks and then a drop here. So pretty significant spikes here, up to $2.08, $2.10, and then we were down obviously to $1.45. So it has been falling in the last couple of days. Within the last 2 weeks or so, it's been falling. Bitfarms was down 3.42% to $1.41, and it is actually looking like it's going to want to fall back down a little bit to maybe $1.21. You know, not financial advice, do your own research as always. But it looks like we're kind of following this kind of wave pattern here. Where we're going up and down, up, down, and maybe going back up a little bit higher. But we obviously peaked a little bit here on 22nd, it looks like, at a high of $1.57. And we haven't been able to get above that here. And we do obviously have this big drop where we got nothing here. We got empty space here. That eventually I think is going to have to get filled if it hasn't gotten filled already, which it might not have. So we may test that out as well. And let's see, next one is CleanSpark. CleanSpark was up nicely today, 9.27% to $4.36. They did not provide any information, but they are going to be obviously providing their earnings coming up on the 9th, it looks like. Excuse me. But they obviously had a nice day. They've bottomed out here a little bit here, looks like, in the last couple of days, right around $3.79, and they've been kind of going up ever since then. So we'll have to see on that one. CleanSpark, then what do we got? Course was down 3.98% today to $2.41. It's been obviously going up nicely in the last couple of days, trading days, and then it has obviously fallen down a little bit today. Probably taking a breather here. Next one is DigiHost. DigiHost was up 0.57% to $1.28. You can see the same thing here, up and down, up, down. We're seeing the kind of same pattern. But we are seeing somewhat of a price increase as time goes on, so we'll have to see how that plays out as well. Next one is DMG. DMG was up 0.56% to 28.5 cents, and it's had basically 4 green days in the past week. And it has also, looks like it's kind of topped out here at 28 cents, it almost looks like. You can see it here where we topped out here, and then we obviously finished out as well in the last 3 days. So it's obviously got a resistance here at this mark. If you can get above that, it might be able to go back up higher. Next is Hive. Hive was up 0.89% today to $4.55. So it's obviously had a nice couple of days here where it's been going up. It did go up quite nicely last week. And we're seeing the same thing, right? Ups, valleys, peaks, and troughs, and then going back up, going back down, and back up. We'll see when they actually provide the report for Q1. But other than that, it just looks like it's not looking too overbought yet on the daily chart. I think it might actually probably go down a little bit if it doesn't continue going back up. Hive, who's next? Next is Hut 8. Hut 8 was down 1.89% today to $2.08. And the same thing, we got peaks and valleys, and it's at least, I can't speak. At least we have 4 days of green here on Hut 8. Next is Iris Energy, was up 1.76% today to $4.04. Same thing, we're kind of slowly going up in price. RSI is also following suit. Luxfolio was down today quite a bit, down 34.31% to 7 cents today. And that is a big drop, obviously. Volume wasn't there, but it just went down pretty hard right now. That might be a new 52-week low. Let's see if we can see it here. 52-week range. Yep, basically had a new 52-week low here at 7 cents and change. Next is Marathon. Marathon was down 5.54% today to $12.27. It's obviously gone up nicely here in the last couple of weeks. Had a little retracement the week prior, but came back out of it. And then obviously we're falling down a little bit more now as well. Moss Infrastructure was down 3.75% to 89.5 cents. And this one has been just falling down here steadily. It seems like now we're possibly getting a little bit of maybe a little bit price appreciation in it in the coming days here, because it has been beaten down quite heavily here in the last couple weeks. And Riot was up 0.14% today to $7.33, and it has been kind of trading sideways here as well, going flat on it. But obviously there's more room to run, so we'll have to see on that one. And then we got Stronghold. Stronghold was down another 7.17%. We've obviously had quite a bit of price increases here in the last week and week prior to that, and it seems like it's coming back down to where it probably should be trading right now, but along with the other miners. And that's it. That's it for the miners. So let's get into the news on them, and then we'll call it a day. So let's see, where do I want to go? I want to go here. So first one is obviously Bitfarms. So Bitfarms provided their July 2022 production update and mining operations. I absolutely love this about them. They're always the first ones pretty much out of the gate providing this information. So they obviously have a really good handle on their data, what they are mining, what they are selling, everything. So this is obviously a good sign for me. And like you guys know, I'm invested in them. But this is kind of one of the reasons why I am invested in them, even though they have made some mistakes. So Bitfarms production update here. In July, we completed the bunker phase 2, reached full production at Ledger, and added new production in Washington State, increasing total capacity by 21% to 166 megawatts. So that's great. We partially offset new miner installations at this location with miner redeployments, resulting in growth in our hash rate to 3.8 exahash, up 6% from 3.6 exahash at the beginning of July. So that's a nice increase of 200 petahash for the month. Unseasonably high temperatures in Quebec and Washington State late in the month also slightly lowered miner productivity and affected our corporate hash rate. I don't know how much it affected it because it had a pretty darn good month of July as far as mining. And we'll get into my numbers here in a little bit. With cooler temperatures and the completion of the remaining miner redeployments, as well as the installation of new miners, we expect our hash rate will exceed our 4 exahash target in August. So that is obviously good news. And going down here, mining production. So 3.8 exahash online as of July 31st, from 270% from the year prior. So that's obviously a nice increase there. 500 new BTC mined during July 2022, up 28% from July of 2021, which is also really good, and up 19% from June, just prior month. 16.1 BTC mined daily on average in July, equivalent to about 384,000 per day and approximately 12 million for the month. And then they're basing it on the BTC price of 23,900. I have it a little bit lower than that for the ending price for the month of July. Not by much. I think I have it at like $600 less, but that's obviously going to have an effect on how much you're getting for it. 2,021 BTC in custody on July 31st, representing a total value of approximately 48 million based on BTC price of 23,900. BTC held in custody on July 31st reflects the sale of 1,623 BTC during the month. So they sold quite a bit. We'll take a look at the number that I have for that as well. Continuing on here, so construction continued on the 250 megawatt warehouses in Rio Cuarto, Argentina. The framing and exterior of the first building is nearing completion, as are the foundational supports for the transformers. The high voltage electrical supply lines are almost complete as well, so that's good news there. So they obviously have room to install new miners possibly in the coming months. And then financing activity. So in July, Bitfarms completed financing activity that further reduced overall debt and increased liquidity and financial flexibility. So this is good. During the month, the company utilized a portion of the proceeds received from the sale of the BTC mined and in treasury to reduce the outstanding balance of its BTC-backed loan facility by 15 million. As of July 31st, the loan balance of its BTC-backed facility was 23 million. So obviously a nice decrease from that, from where they were. They unfortunately had to sell, obviously, when Bitcoin price was far lower from the peak of 69,000. They took out some loans backed by BTC. They got margin called more likely, and they had to sell BTC at a much, much lower cost. So profit. So like I keep saying, the miners, I think, need to basically sell, if not all, I wouldn't say all, but I would say at least half to 30% of their BTC mined monthly to fund operations, fund the growth, and then that way they can avoid these kind of things, plus your dollar cost averaging into the ups and downs as well, right? That's my take on it, and it looks like some of them are actually doing that now. So that's it for the updates here. So let's take a look at the numbers that I have for them. So Bitfarms right now, let's take a look at it. I did not update the stock price here. I'll do that later on here, but the price should be up higher than what it is right now. And what do we got here? Current hash rate, 3.8 exahash. Future hash rate is about 7.5 that I have reported, at least currently. We'll see if they can get to that or if there's other news as far as buying more miners. So they're about 50% operational right now. Total number of miners in operation is about 41.6 thousand. Hash rate average per miner is about 91 terahash, which is pretty good. BTC HODL 2021, valued at 47 million. That equates to about 17.47% of their HODL position in their market cap. And one share has about 23 cents of HODL position right now. Going down here to the monthly stats, we can see obviously a great increase here on the BTC mined, 500 compared to 420 the month prior. So there's a nice jump there. And they have been growing for the most part. I mean, you can see here from January, they were at 300. They're up to 500. So that's definitely a sizable increase in production from where they started through July. The other nice thing is we noticed that the BTC per petahash went up to 1.316. This is obviously better than the last 3 months they had. So obviously a nice increase there in efficiency. Value, I have them at about 11,653,000, and that is based on the Bitcoin price of 23,307 as the closing price that I'm using here for Bitcoin for July. Bitfarms, there we go. So monthly difference, that's about 80 more Bitcoins produced. Month over month, about 19% increase, which is great. BTC HODL, obviously, they sold 1,623 BTC. That equates to about 37.8 million, depending on the price you're using. They're obviously using probably a little bit higher price than I am. So all in all, great month by them here. We do have some other little updates here as well. These are the miners that we installed here for July, June, July. So we installed basically 1,940 of the 103 terahash miners that came in here. Those were mining for about 25 days, which got us pretty close to the 11.6 million in revenue that we're finding over here. 11.6 million. So obviously also a nice increase in revenue from the prior month of June of 8.3 million, which is really good. Still not as good as they were over here in 16 million. Obviously, Bitcoin price was up higher then than it is now, but still nonetheless they're growing and getting that revenue up, which is good to see as well. Lastly, what we have for them is institutions. So institutions did decrease by 2, but shares increased surprisingly. So others have bought in more. So we have 32.9 million shares that are owned by institutions, which is about 16.54% of float. We have one buy rating on them to went up a little bit to $5.47 for the high, average, and low from $5.43 from the previous month. So this is obviously good news. We're getting a little bit of accumulation from institutions as well. Now, based on what we are looking at here, we're obviously going to find out what their numbers were for Q2, which is April, May, and June. I have them at 37. I'm thinking they're going to be a little bit higher than that, probably closer to about 30. I was going to say probably 38.8 or something like that, 38.5, somewhere right around there. I think that's where they're going to probably come in at, depending on the numbers that they're using for Bitcoin. If they're using daily numbers and then averaging it out, I'm going to have a little bit different numbers, but I want to be at least within 2.5% of that. That's my goal here. Last time I was off by 0.53%, so it was pretty good. So we'll see if we can get as close to that. I'd be happy with that. So we're looking for combined right now, last 3 quarters for them is about 144 million. Current quarter, we're looking at about 37.7 million. So combined for the last 4 quarters, 182 million roughly. And if we're using the 50% net income from gross revenue, we're looking at 91 million and EPS of 45 cents roughly. That would give us, we're using the PE 15 to get to $6.80. And then we're using 75% net income, which right now I think the price where Bitcoin is and electrical costs, I think they're probably closer to 50% net income from gross revenue. So we're looking at $6.80. Obviously, Bitcoin starts going up. We could be obviously going up higher because it's going to become more profitable for them to mine. And with them still growing, we could see once Bitcoin starts going back up, we could be anywhere between $9.07 to $13.60 on the stock price. So currently, yeah, I think they are way undervalued, in my opinion, just as most of the other miners are as well. And it all depends on Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up, these guys will go up as well. Overall, terrific job by the Bitfarms team for getting the miners installed, growing their hash rate and everything else. That's good. That's what we want to see as investors' continued growth. And they're executing on that, and hopefully they learned their lessons on some of the loans. All right. Next is Iris Energy. This is going to be just really quick. Iris Energy increases 2022 miner deliveries from 4.3 exahash to 6 exahash, which is good. So today they announced that it had reached agreement with Bitmain Technologies Limited to ship an additional 1.7 exahash of contracted S19J Pro miners in August of 2022. The increase for the company expected total operating capacity from 4.3 exahash to 6 exahash by the end of the year. which was obviously good. And as previously announced, the company has made 130 million of payments in respect of contracted miners above the initial 4.3 exahash of operating capacity. 46.7 million of these previous payments, along with an additional payment of 5.9 million of cash on hand, have been utilized as payments for the additional 1.7 exahash of contracted miners. As a result, the company has 83.3 million of remaining payments in respect of additional contracted miners above 6 exahash of capacity, which remain subject to ongoing discussions with Bitmain. So I'm obviously thinking, excuse me, that they are in communications with Bitmain to get a better price on the miners since Bitcoin has fallen down, and we're seeing people cutting basically pricing on all the miners coming down. They're down 65, 75% from where they were. You know, they used to be around 10, 11, 12,000. Now they're around 3, 4,000. You can get them on spot market someplace even lower than that. So I think they're obviously in talks to get a better price, which is good, which we want them to do that, especially in the current economic situations that we got going on with Bitcoin. So that's fine. Next and lastly is Marathon. So Marathon has expanded its credit facilities. Well, I should probably say the title. Marathon Digital Holdings expands credit facilities, increasing debt funding capacity by 100 million. So they're taking on more debt. And the Marathon has expanded its credit facilities with Silvergate Bank, the leading provider of innovative financial infrastructure solutions to the digital currency industry, by refinancing its existing 100 million revolving line of credit and adding an additional 100 million term loan on July 28th. So now that's going to be, I'm guessing, 200 million. The 100 million term loan includes a delayed draw feature that grants Marathon the ability to draw 50 million at the time of closing and an additional 50 million up to 270 days after closing. So they're going to basically pull the 50 million right away, and then they got 270 days to determine whether or not they want to pull the other 50 million. The term loan carries a variable interest rate with the initial draw currently priced at 7.25%, which is okay. And here's the interesting part. Both facilities are secured by Bitcoin and mature in July of 2024. So they got obviously 2 years to use those and pay them off. And here's what I wanted to show you guys. So based on what they are currently hodling, that is basically everything that they have. So right now they're hodling about 10,055 BTC. Current value of that is about 234 million. They're obviously got 100 million already. They're going to be getting 50 million after it's signed, and then they have 50 million. So they're basically, well, they're leveraging pretty much everything that they have on BTC to get these loans. So the only downside that I see with this, since they're backed by BTC, is if Bitcoin starts to fall. We don't know if it's going to fall even more. We're hoping that it doesn't, obviously, but there is a chance that Bitcoin could fall to 15,000, 13,000, somewhere around there, like a flash crash or something like that. That is obviously going to be concerning for Marathon. I think Marathon, the reason they did this is because Bitcoin is so low right now that the downside potential is possibly less, but there still might be a little bit of downside. And we did see, I didn't pull this up, but I think there was some downgrades by some analysts on Marathon as far as where they're going to be this year. So that might be also weighing down on the stock a little bit now. But yeah, they obviously have their BTC all loaned out for the most part. But that's it. So we'll have to see how that plays out. I'm not a financial analyst or financial advisor, so I have no idea how that's going to play out for them. I know 7.25% is not too bad as far as percentage goes, but it's obviously going to cost monthly to maintain that loan. And it's something maybe that Anthony Powers could chime in on as far as what that would entail. But that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. As always, spreadsheets available to my Patreon members. Thank you so much to those guys and gals over there for their continued support. It means the world to me. We'll see what else we get as far as during the week, who provides updates for July. And then we obviously have the earnings coming out later on next week. So that'll be interesting. We'll get some nitty-gritty information and do some analysis on debt, current debt, future debt, current assets, and all that stuff. So that'll be fun. So if you enjoy this kind of stuff, subscribe. It helps me out. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then,